Welcome back to America Right Now. I'm Tom Basili. In the last week, 13 police officers have been shot across America, and the emotional widow of one of those who died has made clear people have had enough. Listen.
The system continues to fail us. We are not safe anymore. Not even the members of the service. I know you were tired of these laws, especially the ones from the new DA. I hope he's watching you speak through me right now.
That was at St. Patrick's Cathedral yesterday. Listen to that applause. The law enforcement crisis is getting worse, but what can we do about it, and how can Americans help? It's the subject of our Thin Blue Line segment this week. To discuss, we're joined by Craig Floyd. He is founder of Citizens Behind the Badge and CEO Emeritus of the National Police Officers Memorial Foundation. Craig, great to have you with us back here on America Right Now. Yesterday was so powerful, hearing the officer's widow, seeing those thousands of cops line Fifth Avenue. But this isn't a New York story. This isn't just happening here. It's happening all across America. Your reaction to Mrs. Rivera's call for reform?
Well, when I hear Mrs. Rivera's call for reform, I have to think about the many contacts I've had with survivors in this situation. And they always say the same thing. They say, you know, I heard so many wonderful things said about my husband or my wife when she died in the line of duty and at the funeral, but I wish my spouse, my loved one who died, had heard those comments when they were alive. You know, Tom, over the last couple years since George Floyd's death, really, we've had more than 10,000 anti-cop protests across this country. And it seems a bit hypocritical to me to one day be protesting against law enforcement, calling them brutal racists, and the next day putting your hand over your heart as their caravan drives by with a hearse and the body of that officer inside.
Right.
We've got to remember that officers are risking their lives for us each and every day.
Right.
There are more than 800,000 officers serving and protecting us, putting their lives at risk. Last year, 458 officers died in the line of duty. That's more than one officer death every day in this country. There are 60,000 assaults against officers every year in this country. More than 100,000 are injured in the line of duty, and yet these 800,000 men and women go out every day to protect the lives of strangers. And we owe them support, and we owe them respect.
Yeah, let's talk about that. You know, one of the things that you've talked about often is that less than 10% of Americans actually come in contact with a police officer. And that means that we're somewhat disconnected from them. We don't really understand who they are, what they do. How can both departments and everyday Americans try to change that?
Well, we're having community policing programs across this country, and I think they oftentimes go unnoticed. One of my favorites is down in Charleston, South Carolina. It's called the Illumination Project. They developed a very close tie between law enforcement and their community. And if you remember back in 2015, when a white supremacist walked into a church and gunned down 9 African Americans, the city of Charleston did not implode and have all these riots that so many other cities have in those situations. The reason is the chief, the community there had developed very close ties, and they came together during that moment of crisis. They didn't protest police. They didn't burn down buildings. And as a result, that community policing made a real difference. Contrast that to Ferguson, Missouri, back in 2015. Totally different story. They had not developed those kinds of positive relationships with the community, and the city imploded.
All right. You know, I want to talk to you more, Craig, the next time that we have this discussion, because we need to take what you did at the museum, at the National Law Enforcement Officers Museum, and bring it into the digital world and bring that powerful message of who these people are and what they do to far more people. Craig Floyd from Citizens Behind the Badge. Check them out, folks. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thanks, Tom.